Right, well, lots of coverage in the last 24 hours about this open letter from 92, 94, 96, 100 New Zealanders. Between 90 and 100 New Zealanders. I was going to say wealthy, but it's not quite exactly clear whether they are or not. Some of them are. Who say they're happy to pay more tax. I'll be honest, I haven't actually cited the open letter yet. I've been looking for it. Apparently it's somewhere on interest.co.nz, but it has achieved in some ways its end. It's got us talking about wealth tax and how much people should pay in wealth tax, or whether or not we should tax the rich more. A whole lot of interesting questions came up about the letter yesterday, and really interesting that Chris Trotter said it was like Citizens for Rolling. It was like Citizens for Rolling. The thing is run by an outfit called Tax Justice Aotearoa, and I'm trying to figure out who they are. But Oxfam's name has come up. So what is this letter all about? Well, how did it get together, and what are people meaning with the open letter? I thought the best way to get to the bottom of this was to talk to someone who signed the letter. And one of those people was Ian Taylor, who's been on the program a few times and always is good for a bit of kōrero, a bit of discussion. He joins us now. Ian, how are you, mate?
I'm good, Sean. I'm good.
How did you get to sign this letter? How did this all come about?
Well, it's been in the sort of making for a few months now. I write a number of articles, and I was writing an article which was headed Let's talk about tax.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd been motivated by a number of things. There was a discussion about capital gains, and I've always been a supporter of capital gains tax. And I thought that there was a discussion that needed to be happening, because as we watched infrastructure crumble, as we watched our education system, which is really, really important, sort of seemed to implode on itself, the health. I sort of looked at all of this and thought, this is part of a social responsibility that we have, that this is how you run a country.
Who are you writing these articles for, Ian?
Well, this is like I wrote most of them with the Herald, so all the COVID stories I wrote, all of those things.
Yeah.
When I stepped up to say, look, and it was interesting, those things weren't meant to be critical. They were meant to be offering solutions. And I thought that what we should start to do is let's just talk about tax. Let's just talk about capital gains, because, we are facing some huge challenges, and it costs to run a country. And I always looked at this idea that I come from
it's quite a long... Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out the chain of events. You're writing an article for a Herald, and then a few months ago, and now we are at an open letter published or put out to the news media on capital gains tax. I'm sorry, just trying to get the actual events, Ian.
Well, it sort of just grew like this. So I got a call from a group that said, hey, look...
Okay, what was the group that you got the call from? Now we're getting into it.
Yeah, well, as we started, it wasn't a group. It was a group of really interested people.
So who did you get a call from?
Well, Kate Freiberg,
Who's
Phil Mills,
Kate Freiberg?
Well, that's what I asked when I did. So
Philip Mills is the heir to the Les Mills thing, and he's a big contributor to the Labour Party.
Tiffany O'Regan. There was a group got together, and some of those people, those names were confidential. Some were really impressive. I was actually privileged. I kept thinking, hell, how did I end up in this kind of wealthy bracket of people? But let's just step back.
So it was like a phone tree. A phone tree got going amongst people about this.
Let me ask you a question. Are we now trying to get into this tribalism argument?
No. I'm just trying to figure out, Ian, it's called journalism. I'm just trying to figure out that what happened and how all this came about.
Well, I've probably been on 3 phone calls in total over that whole period.
Yeah.
And people started sharing ideas, and it was sort of like, well, why don't we actually put this out there, that there are people out here who say there is a need to have discussion about our tax system. And that's it. It's not a group. Yeah. It's not a ginger group. It's not. And actually, I don't know who Phil votes for or who he doesn't. Yeah. But the group is varied. Nobody asked who we voted for. I'll just go back to
But who drives it? Who runs it? And who actually put out the letter? That requires public relations and media relations. And who did that for the group?
Well, does it?
Yeah, it does.
I mean, I've put out open letters. I remember paying for myself an open letter, full page across all the newspapers, questioning Chris Hipkins, saying, "Is it a really good idea to centralise the Polytech?"
Yeah.
So media people should just step back for a moment and.
They're just questions, Ian. They're just questions. They're reasonable questions.